All right, well, this is the hopefully final assembly of a little solar node Meshtastic setup that I have been working on for a couple of weeks here. Full disclosure, this design is based very much on the wonderful tutorial from the user District 47. I watched that a few months ago, just as I was exploring really what Meshtastic was for the first time ever. Knew very little about it, and I've built a few nodes now based on his design in that video, but I'll post a link to that video. These are a slightly lower cost, slightly more jank version of what District 47 did, but I wanted to post this just to show what's been working for me. I have a couple of these out in the field now successfully, and they've been broadcasting for weeks now, have not dipped below 85% power. I am interested to see what they do in the winter when we have snow, because we do get that where I live, but it's spring right now and they've been working great despite a huge amount of rain and clouds. I haven't had any water intrusion that I know about, and everything is humming along nicely. So as I go through here, I will kind of call out or try to list the components that are involved, but I'm probably not going to remember what brand everything is or exactly in what configuration I purchased it. So I will go ahead and throw a list of the components and links to either exactly what I purchased or to comps if they're not available anymore or the price has gone way up. But that's just to say, please rely on that list in the video description as the authority, because I may not remember exactly what all of these things are perfectly. So without further ado, this is all based around a RAK WisBlock 4630, the little board that you see right there. I just, as I said, jank, have this zip tied onto a piece of foam right here. Nobody's going to be seeing this. We're going to be screwing the lid on. I am planning to suspend this one using a little system that I've been thinking of to get it up in a tree. The idea is not to look pretty, but it's just to protect it and make sure that it has a little bit of insulation against any kind of bumps or falls that hopefully will not occur, but might occur, because we want to plan for everything. This is going into a little Carlon Marine junction box that I picked up at Home Depot, actually. That's about the only component that I did not order directly from Amazon, because I knew I could get a junction box anywhere. The antenna, in District 47's video, he used one of these much more expensive lower gain 5 dBi Slink. I don't know how to say that. I'm just going to say Slink Disco because that's what it looks like to me, but it's basically a 915 megahertz, which if you're in the United States, that's the frequency Meshtastic is on. Slink Disco antenna. This antenna here is also by Slink Disco, but it's just a smaller, less expensive whip antenna. I think it's actually perhaps a slightly higher gain than that one, but I also don't know if I necessarily believe the gain ratings on these smaller antennas. But I did pick up a couple of these in a 2-pack, and they've worked very well, particularly in high up places that have good line of sight to wherever you're trying to broadcast to. This guy definitely performs better in urban areas or places where there are trees or topography that you're trying to bounce over, because my very limited understanding of gain is that the low gain is more of like a bubble, whereas the higher gain antenna is more like a long, narrow band of reception or transmission. Again, very new to this, but that is my understanding. So I've just got that guy. I drilled using, I don't know what the technical term for these are, but these little Christmas tree bits, I found them to be a lifesaver when it comes to this, because lots of antennas and ports and cable glands have different gauges or different sizes, and if you were to try to buy a drill bit for each of them, it would be very expensive. But I just picked up a pack of these at Home Depot or Lowe's, and they've been really, really helpful as far as this whole little hobby that I have now goes. I put some Loctite, it's not actually the thread locker, but it's the silicone gel that they make around that antenna. Doesn't look pretty, but it should do the trick to seal it. I also put a little bit of antenna tape down there below where the threads go up in to just make sure everything, one, doesn't like rotate or screw around, but also it just adds a little extra barrier against moisture there, hopefully. For my solar panel, I've got this little, I forget what the brand is, but you think I got a 2-pack of them for like 20 bucks. The price may have gone up a little bit now, but they're really not bad. They're designed for a game camera or a hunting camera or a security camera, so it's 5 watts. I have, again, had one of these powering a similar node with the exact same battery, or battery from the exact same company with the same specs, and it's been running for, I want to say, 3 weeks now. I've never seen the battery metrics dip below like 85%. I don't have anything in between the power source, this little JST connector that I just soldered onto the solar panel cable right here. I don't have any kind of regulator in between that and the board. It would probably be a best practice to put something in there, a little intermediary component that goes in there. See, I don't even know what these things are called, but I do know that it works without that, and it has worked without that for several weeks, so I'm not too concerned right now. And to be completely honest with you, none of this is that expensive. That's one of the nicer things about this hobby. I think the board itself from RAK is probably $30 at the time of this video. You can buy them from other companies or ESP32 boards that do similar things that are less expensive than that. I do like this one because I found it tends to be a little bit more energy efficient perhaps than some of the others, and they have a lot of modularity, so you can buy different like GPS modules or even weather sensors or other things and connect them to this board. We're not doing any of that today. We're just going with the RAK WisBlock in here. So I have drilled out the marine junction box just to align with the little bolt sockets here. These are the same gauge or the same size as a typical consumer camera tripod, which is kind of nice. The solar panel does come with a little arm to mount it on, but for this application, we're just going to be bolting it straight onto the back of our junction box, which will allow us to still access the front of the junction box if we so need to. But if this is set up right, we shouldn't need to do that for a really long time. I also drilled out the bottom here with one of those, I'm just going to call it a Christmas tree drill bit, and put this cable gland in. I've done it on another unit that I have out in the field with just running the cable through a little hole and putting some antenna tape around it, and that has worked fine, but I decided to kind of punch things up, make it a little more legit here, and use an actual cable gland on this one. So do my drill holes align there? It appears that they do. Okay, that's good. That's promising. I just found these bolts in an old toolbox that looks like they take, what is that, like a 3/16 hex key or Allen wrench, and amazingly, they seem to be exactly the right size for this application. So you could probably put just a little antenna tape or even electrical tape on there and be fine. Again, not best practice, not safety advice, but you probably could. But just to be extra careful here, I'm going to put a little drop of silicone gel in there. That actually looks better than I thought it would. I'm sure you'll get to see me make some sort of a mess or some terrible mistake before this is over, and in the comments you'll all be like, lighten me up, and I deserve it. But like I said, I'm new to this, really, other than watching some videos and reading some articles, have little idea what I'm doing here, so feel free to put me to rights. And then just to keep things cleaner and add another extra little layer of protection, and hopefully lock things in place really well here, I am just putting some more little antenna tape. I am punching a little hole right in the middle here, thereabouts, just to get things going, but pretty much the bolt will just go right through it. And let's see if this works. It seems to have found it. Tightening that down. Okay, that's probably about as far as it's going to go in, but that is okay, because we've got it sealed pretty well. Is that going in? There we go. Found it. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to happen, but we will persevere. Locking this guy down good. It's really on there now. All right. Well, I wish they both looked nice and perfect like that, but I know that silicone tape is pulled down into the threads and is making a nice tight seal there. So at the end of the day, I will live. I just wanted to look nice and professional for you guys, but here we are. For our battery, I've just got this little 3000 mAh lithium polymer battery. These things are a dime a dozen. They're not actually a dime a dozen. They're a little bit more than that. I think I got 4 of them for 25 or 30 bucks, but there's a bunch of brands that sell them specifically for this application. One interesting thing, or one of the quirks with the WisBlock is actually 2 of them right here. They do take a larger JST connector. I'm forgetting the size offhand, but you can look it up on the schematics. So I had to solder a new connector onto here, because as far as I know, there's not an easy way to change the little connector heads underneath. And then I also had to remember to reverse the polarity, because I've read, and I know there's technically no standard for which side the positive and negative are supposed to be on, but I've found most of the batteries that seem to be geared towards mesh nodes, at least on Amazon, which maybe that's my problem right there, but most of them seem to have the positive, or the polarity, the opposite of the direction that you would want. So I did have to pry that off and pop it around. I won't show how to do that, because I will start swearing and probably throw things, and it would be terrible for this video. But just know I did have to reverse the polarity and solder. You can see my extremely jank wire soldering here. Put some heat shrink tubing over there. That was the only, I believe, the only soldering that was involved with this model. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll put, this is just standard basic economy grade electric tape, but I really just am wanting to hold this in place long enough to get it up in the location where it's going, and then I'm not too worried. We will put this guy right down here in the back. It's a little more snug now that those bolts are in, but not too worried. What have we got there? That's what I get for not having a clean workspace. All right. That is in place, not going anywhere, at least not that easily. Then we're just gonna go ahead and put our board in here. Cut a little slit. Actually, that's for the antenna. This is just coming up over the top. You do want to make sure that your antenna, your LoRa antenna, your long-range radio antenna, is connected before you plug this in, because otherwise you can eventually fry out your board from it trying to transmit when it's not connected to anything. So just pop that guy on. Always am convinced I'm gonna destroy this when I'm connecting to those little connectors, which I do not remember what they're called, but has not happened yet. Let's just feed the antenna through there. Connect our battery via the JST connector. Again, making sure that the red lines up with the red. Now that I've reversed the polarity, it's the only way it'll go in, but you do want to make sure just when it comes that it's the correct polarity, or if not, you can look up very easily from someone with more patience than me a video about how to reverse the polarity. And there we go. We've got our little LED heartbeat already, but we just need to add in our solar now. To the smaller JST connector. And snap that guy in. Pull this back through here, the antenna. All right, and nothing too pretty looking, but that's not the point. The point is it works. And we'll go ahead and put our lid on the junction box. Lock this guy down. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot my silicate pack, because these things you can buy 100 of them for very little money. Throw that in there, and just if there is any moisture residually in there, or if, heaven forbid, a little bit gets in later, that'll just help you out a lot and soak that up. And I forgot to mention, but clearly I did, very clearly, just spray paint this all olive drab green to make it a little less intrusive or invasive looking at our hunting camp. But there you go. We've got our relatively low cost, relatively jank, but definitely functional, and I believe durable. Maybe I'll do an update at the end of the summer to let y'all know how it's lasting, but we do have our Meshtastic solar node right here. I hope this video was helpful. Again, certainly not all best practices here. Certainly not saying this is the way you should or need to do this, but it is how I have found as a very, very amateur, very new Meshtastic enthusiast. It's what I have successfully done and have found works. So hope it was helpful. If you wanna, go ahead, like or subscribe. I don't know if I'm gonna post more videos on this channel, to be honest. I just kind of wanted to do this one to show what I was doing and maybe be helpful to other folks in the community or who are interested in entering the community. As other folks were helpful to me in posting videos. We'll post the links to the components down in the video description. I'll probably use Amazon affiliate links. Not that anybody is actually gonna watch this or do this, but I probably will just for the heck of it. So I'll disclose that. Probably gonna put a fun little sticker on the back here. I've got my loon. We have loons where I live, without giving away too much. And there you go. Meshtastic solar node. Spectacular. Meshtacular. All right, I'm gonna quit. I hope the two of you that are still watching enjoyed that pun. Goodbye.